Oil painting, the medium of the masters, where only the most gifted and talented can... Nope. Anyone can do oil painting, and here's the basics to get you started. So Lexi is not on acid, asked me to do a video on oil painting. Except, nope. No, she didn't. She said oil pastels, not oil paintings. Oops. Yeah, I saw that after I'd finished this video, so... yeah, sorry Lexi. I'll do the oil pastels next week for sure. I know weed's so good. And now back to my stupid mistake. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the basics of oil painting. Yeah, see? Ask and you shall receive. It's happening. This is for you, Lexi. This is for you. Don't do acid. Don't do acid. Heroin is better. No. Alright, so I'm going to do this video. I'm going to go a little fast because I don't want this to be a, 30-minute, 40-minute long video. So, that's the great thing about video. You can stop and pause and whatever. But here we go. So the basics of painting are the basics of painting. However, with oil painting, there is a certain order to things. So as you're watching this, really pay attention to the order in which I do things because it'll be the same order of doing things whether or not you're doing a big painting or a small painting. So here we go. Of course, you're going to need oil paints, turpentine, brushes, canvas, all that stuff. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be doing a pear. I know, pear, cliche, fruit, not the best. I get it. But there's a reason why people do fruit in the beginning because it teaches you a lot about everything in a really, really simplified way. So we're going to go ahead and do a pear. So first you're going to want to get your drawing down, and I use soft vine charcoal to start that drawing because it's easy to use and you can just wipe it away with a rag. Once you have your drawing down, it doesn't need to be perfect. What you're going to want to do is you're going to take a little bit of a darker color, and I'm just going to barely get a little bit of pigment. I'm going to use the turpentine to water it down a lot actually, just so it has a little bit of pigment, but I don't want a thick, strong line. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the vine charcoal so I actually have like a paint outline of the pear. Now after that has dried, you're going to want to do a wash. Now a wash is just a thin layer of color that sets the overall tone for the painting. So for this painting, I want it to have a blue tone. So I'm going to go ahead and take, again, very, very little pigment with a lot of turpentine and kind of wash a blue layer over the entire canvas. And once it's all over the canvas, you're going to want to go ahead and let it dry. And this again will just set the overall tone or color of your painting, even though it's underneath everything. So once you have that, you're ready to start painting. Now with oil painting, as with all painting, except for watercolor, you paint dark to light and back to front. So in this case, I'm going to start with my darker colors and I'm going to paint the background first and pear. You look at it like layers. You paint the back first, then you paint the front. Same with dark. You paint the dark colors, then you put the light colors on top of those dark colors. So I want my background to be blue, so I'm going to make it blue. And then for the pear, I'm going to have it mostly, I'm going to stylize it, but I'm going to keep it close to a pear color. So I'm going to start with the really, really dark version of it. Now again, this is the first layer and it's the darkest layer that we're going to be doing. So it's going to look ugly. And that's a pretty much good rule of art. Art has to look ugly before it can be beautiful. You could say that with people too, sometimes. I'm really just putting color on at this point. So after that's dry, you're going to want to do your midtones. So this is where we start painting, the actual color that we want it to look like. So you can paint over the dark because it'll pop through, but you can also just keep it there, or you can always repaint later, it dark if you want to keep those shadows. But really, you really want to push the color here. So I'll go ahead and paint the whole thing. Don't worry about highlights or the darkest darks. We'll do that at the end. Now, once it's dry, you'll notice that the colors have dulled considerably, and that's just the way oil paint is, as I mentioned in a previous video. However, if the colors are too dull for you, I would go ahead and say, do another layer of midtones. And again, it'll dull a little bit, but it'll mostly keep the color this time. However, if you're fine with the way it looks, go ahead and go to the next step, which is adding the lights, darks, and accent colors. So I'm going to go in and add, highlights here and there. I'm going to add little accent colors that match, in this case, I'm using yellow and blue, which are close contrasting colors. It's really blue and orange, but yellow and blue go real nicely. So I'll throw in some orange or some red or maybe a little bit of green here and there just to, smooth it over and see what looks good. But here's where you're going to want to, again, really push those highlights, add those light colors, and really semi-darken those dark areas. And that's pretty much it. I know it seemed really simple for painting, however, it really is simple. It's about the process of painting. It's about, doing the wash, painting from dark to light, starting with your foreground and then coming forward, doing the highlights last. If you're looking for proportion or getting things right, that's more drawing techniques, not painting techniques. This is all about painting techniques. It's all about a process of layering and doing it correctly so you can get the best product at the end. So there you go, that's the basics of oil painting, which again can be used from big paintings to small paintings, everything. It's gonna be the same process all the way through. So yeah, I hope this was informative. I hope you'll at least try oil painting more than once. And yeah, you know the drill. Comment questions, concerns below. Don't forget to check out my other channel. Please subscribe to this channel and go create something. Use oil paints.